So how did we get to Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar? Now, I've been getting this question a lot recently, and I wanted to go over it in a video because it is fascinating, since neither Jim Bob or Michelle grew up as religious as they would turn out to be. So let's start with a little backstory on Jim Bob. Jim Bob was born July 18th, 1965 in Springdale, Arkansas. He went to a Christian school, Baptist Christian school, and was in a very, very Baptist religious family, but still not as religious as he would turn out to be. Now, Michelle was born September 13th, 1966 in Ohio and moved to Arkansas later, and Michelle was not raised in a very Christian household. She mentions only going to church a few times. She was a cheerleader. She was very, very normal, She was a cheerleader. She dated boys. She mentions mowing her lawn in a bikini at one point. Incredibly normal teenage girl who is not religious. Now, how Michelle became religious was when she was 15. She was at her friend Janet Smith's house, and they were discussing the end times and life after death after watching a doomsday movie. At that point, Michelle said she realized, oh crap, Janet, if I was to die right now, I would go to hell, and I'm scared. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to be here for doomsday. I need to get saved. And so Janet is super Christian and goes, hey, we're having a speaker at my church next Sunday. Why don't you come? It seems like you need religion right now. So Michelle did. She went to the church. Michael Gott was speaking, and she was like, every single word, I felt like he was talking to me. He called people up if they wanted to give their life to Jesus, and I got up and I gave my life to Jesus right then. It seems like pretty immediately she becomes really Christian. She's kind of diving headfirst into this new religious endeavor. And shortly after, she meets Jim Bob. By shortly after, I mean 2 years later. But 2 years later, she starts going on dates with Jim Bob. And Jim Bob, being very religious, Michelle being newly very religious, they immediately hit it off. And they decided to get married pretty quickly after, all that stuff. But they're still not as religious as they are today. They look pretty normal, pretty alright. They said they only wanted to have 1 or 2 kids to start off with. And what happened was Michelle was on birth control. She got off birth control. They had their first kid, Joshua, but whatever. They have their first kid. And then she gets back on birth control. But this time she gets pregnant with her second child. But she miscarries. She goes to the doctor over this miscarriage, and the doctor tells her it was because she was taking the birth control pill, because she got pregnant on the birth